Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. In this video, I'd like to pose the question, is 1 billion XRP being gifted to Coil too much? And that did indeed happen yesterday. At least word went out yesterday that there's a grant being provided through Ripple's Spring Initiative, and Coil is the recipient of this grant, and they have now access to 1 billion with a B XRP. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I've also got some thoughts somewhat about Coil from Ripple CTO and XRP ledger creator David Schwartz. So I'll be sharing David's thoughts with you on a couple things, including Coil. I'm also going to share with you a new thought. Here's a fun little thought experiment we're going to get into, as to do with whether or not XRP is actually security. I've been talking about that a little bit in some recent videos, given the recent news. And I've got a perspective from Galgatron that I think you're really going to enjoy here. And he just frames the whole concept in such a way that, well, I'm willing to bet that most, if not all of you, have not considered it. And then I'll close out the video with a piece from AMB Crypto, and it's about institutional investors and Bitcoin. Now, before we get going here, if you would please delicately tap that like button. And if you are a fan of Ripple and XRP, boys and girls, you come to the right place. This is the Moon Lambo channel, home of Mr. Bull XRP, me, Moon Lambo, and you're amongst friends here. This is an XRP-centric channel. So let's go ahead and hop into the content. Somebody named Future Boy on Twitter tweeted out, "My gut feeling is telling me that the 1 billion XRP donation for Coil is way too high, and it feels like Ripple/Spring are throwing around with XRP like young Russian rich kids popping champagne bottles." Is that something they just do? I don't know. I'm not familiar. I'm not a young Russian rich kid. Anyway, to be honest, I am not convinced that this was a smart move from Ripple so far. And then Michael iPinky7 responded to that, wrote, "You don't see the big picture. Coil will use this XRP like Ripple does with Spring. They incentivize web monetization, e.g., they have a program where they pay creators a bonus. Surely that bonus will be in XRP. They may give other companies XRP to do the same." And so when I hear this complaint from Future Boy, and this is, again, anytime I offer a critique of anything or a counterpoint to anything on this channel, especially if it's XRP related, especially if it's from somebody in the XRP community, it's not some sort of diss at them. I just like to engage in critical thinking. I like discussion, and I encourage diversity of thought to help us arrive at reasonable conclusions. So I would just say the way that Future Boy is coming at this, I don't think it's the right way to approach this. The complaint lobbied here by Future Boy, it reminds me conceptually of the complaints that have been made about Ripple utilizing XRP for its use case. Are you familiar with this? I haven't seen it as much lately, but I remember especially when I got into the world of crypto not quite 2 years ago, that one of the biggest things is, oh my god, XRP is never going to be worth anything, and there's just so much of it. How could it be worth anything if there's 100 billion XRP? There's only 21 million Bitcoin. And like, it's just too much. It's never going to appreciate in value. And this seems like an argument along those lines for me. You know, why do they need a billion? Why does Coil need a billion XRP for their purpose? Well, consider this. Coil, just like Ripple is trying to completely revolutionize the way that money is converted from one fiat currency to another, so cross-border payments, just like they're trying to revolutionize that, and just like they're solving a multi-trillion-dollar problem there. Understand that's why the scale and the amount of the quantity of XRP is necessary just in existence. It's actually rather important. But and that's conceptually similarly. Coil, look what they're trying to look at the scope of what they're actually trying to do. The plan is audacious, and I mean that in quite a positive way. It is audacious, though, right? They're talking about revolutionizing the way in which the web is monetized. Think about that, because right now there's only two reasonable ways to get compensated, right? There are paywalls. You ever go to a website and say, hey, you must be a subscriber to continue? That's a paywall. Either that or you got to have ads plastered all over the damn website. That's kind of annoying too. Well, there's a third option now, and I'm not proposing that the first two options are completely going to go away. I'm just proposing that a lot of individuals are going to benefit because there's a new third option that prior to the current technology was not technologically impossible. And if this this is revolutionary on a global scale. How can you sit back and say whether or not 1 billion XRP is too much or not enough? You know what my position is on that? I don't know. And I think it's okay to admit sometimes when we don't know. I just don't understand the skepticism, given that Ripple is in the know. And if anybody could have a reasonable guess, to the extent that's even possible, on how much XRP is going to be used in the way that Coil wants to utilize it for web monetization, I mean, it would be Ripple and Coil communicating amongst each other. What's going to be necessary here? And given that I believe that Ripple's been a fantastic steward of the XRP ecosystem, not that they're going to be perfect in everything they do. I'm not trying to say that. But I'm trying to say, if anybody could have a reasonable guess as to what's potentially necessary, it would be them. Why would we sit here and second guess that, especially when we don't have any insider knowledge? So to me, it doesn't make sense to do so. I just don't think that makes any sense at all. I don't know how much is going to be used if Coil genuinely finds a success. And given how important it is, like just this third way of web monetization, given the implications and the way that could fundamentally change the way that content creators engage with the web, I think that there's such true value to that it would be hard for me to envision a world where conceptually that idea doesn't pan out. Now, I can't say for sure that it's going to be Coil, but they're the first and only one that I'm aware of that's going for this. And my gosh, they are backed with basically infinite money. Okay, that's essentially what they're backed with. So if they can't pull it off, who can? I mean, so again, it's not for me to say I don't know for sure that they're going to succeed, but I just think that there's something to what they're doing. And I wouldn't want to be competing against them. Let's just say that I wouldn't want to create a startup in direct competition to Coil, especially given the partnership with Ripple and their huge war chest. So I wouldn't want to do that. But I just come at it from a different angle, and I just think it's okay to sometimes say yes, we don't know what it's going to look like, but to not be not come at it from such a sinister type of angle, for lack of a better word there. Now here's a tweet, and this is in response to the same thread here. This is from XRP Boy, and he shared a thread that I'm gonna pull up for you, and it partly has to do with Coil, which is why I was, it's on kind of the same topic, I want to share it with you. But XRP Boy tweeted out, "Micropayments are a new frontier and will be massive. You might just be underestimating the potential for disruption." And that is how I feel instead, because what I want to say is, if this is going to be globally adopted, 1 billion XRP may not be enough, because we don't know what the truth is. We don't know what the appropriate blend of XRP price and liquidity will be. So one would hope 1 billion would be enough, but I just don't know. There's no way to know, and I'm not skeptical. I just think that they're going at it. And if things need to be adjusted over time, they're going to adjust them. I'm sure that this has all been discussed here. So look at this thread, and I just want to scroll up a little bit. This thing's really long and fascinating, but not the whole thing had to do with Coil, so I had to choose a point to jump in, and it's going to be here. And so there's a few participants here. There's XRP community member Matt Hamilton, and he's always got good points. I talk about him and cover content from him pretty frequently on the channel. Then you got Ari Paul, who, what is this guy's title? Even let me highlight this and show. He just a student. I don't know. He writes a bunch of stuff, and he's very well known. How many followers did it say he has? 138,000. He's exceedingly well known, and man, he seems to not like Ripple and XRP. I don't care what he says, and he comes across as kind of smug, to be kind of honest with you. That's just how it appears to me when he talks. So then you got him, and then you've got XRP co-creator and Ripple CTO David Schwartz here. So let me just jump in at this point right here, and Matt Hamilton starts talking about Coil. He's talking about micropayments and Coil, and how micropayments conducted through Coil, and he writes that it uses XRP, and then he writes, using W3C standards, that's World Wide Web Consortium standards, mechanisms, that are built into every major browser. So unlike every other attempt at doing this before, you don't need a particular browser, plugin, software, etc. Just let that sink in for a second. Every major browser out there now, on phones, desktops, etc., has started, and in some cases completed, implementing much of these standards. And he's got a link to that, which I can share below. And which crypto is at the heart of it due to its speed and liquidity? It's XRP. And by the way, this tweet, this is not brand new, but it's on the same topic, so I want to share with you. This is October 5th of 2018. And then Ari Paul, Mr. Smug here, responded. So he wasn't being smug here, but anyway. It's, so you agree that one of Coil's many competitors is likely to beat it if the competitor uses something with equal speed and greater liquidity than XRP, like a fork of whatever ledger you want combined with tokenized United States dollars with zero extra market-making slippage. And then David responds, David Schwartz here, you're missing the point. Unless you're Coil, why do you care whether or not Coil succeeds? What you should care about is whether the use case is real and whether the application is transformative. The issue is whether XRP is the best asset for some significant payment application, that is, whether it has the right utility. If you don't think XRP's combination of speed, certainty, liquidity, and adoption means it has that utility, nothing else matters. The idea is not to compete for the biggest possible fraction of today's payments. The idea is to explode payments to many times their current size, just as the internet did for data traffic and YouTube with YouTube and Netflix, just as email did for message traffic. The question is, will Coil, ILP, XRapid, and other things like it explode payments the way the internet exploded data? Another question is what fraction of payments, current and new, XRP might capture given its properties. Exactly. And so then Ari Paul responded, agree completely that better micropayment tech will dramatically expand payments. I know little about that competitive landscape. I see no reason why XRP would make sense for that over, say, a dollar-based stablecoin that would almost certainly have lower total fees. For anything that doesn't require FX conversion, since it can be pegged extremely tightly to USD with no need for market making, just pure arbitrage. The only point of debate is XRP, not the tech or use cases. And then David writes, it amazes me that XRP makes crypto folks sing the praises of fiat money. There's nothing new about digital fiat. What's new is universal open assets whose value is not controlled by a central authority. And so understand, so let me get at this. Let me go ahead and attack what Ari has to say here. In terms of XRP utilization with Coil versus a USD-backed stablecoin, understand what you're talking about there is a walled garden. So even if you could have a walled garden coin like a United States dollar coin, whatever it is, I don't care, just make it up. It's a stable coin. Even if that would work, he already acknowledges in what he tweeted here that it wouldn't interoperate because you're not talking, he talks about FX conversions here. And so with this walled garden scenario, it doesn't interoperate with the rest. And so, you know, what are you going to do? Are you going to have a whole bunch of different walled gardens that utilize these stable coins for the purpose of web monetization? Or is it more likely that that won't happen because you need to have, like, what's the incentive to do that, and for who, especially if it's based on top of the dollar? Look at the incentive structure here. You've got Ripple and you've got Coil, both have a ton of XRP, and there's a true market value to it, an open market. It's not backed by anything. It has an actual market value because humans have decided that's what it's worth. And so businesses, specifically I'm citing right now Ripple and Coil, they have reason to build on top of the XRP ledger as a result. Who is going to do that if something's just backed by, like, are you talking, who's backing the United States dollar coin, whatever hypothetical stable coin you're talking about, who's backing it and then is going to build on top of it? Is that even happening? Now, if it is happening, you can talk about success in little walled gardens, but understand what David's talking about here is expanding the pie. That's basically what he was saying here. He's talking about exploding payments and then capturing a piece of that. It doesn't mean that XRP needs to capture 100% of it, but could you make the case to me as to why it's more likely that some yet unnamed company is more likely to achieve success with the same business plan that Coil has, utilizing a stablecoin rather than utilizing XRP, which utilizes distributed ledger technology, is decentralized, and is backed by nothing more than market confidence, because it's humans that, after all, that make up the price. Which makes more sense here? Why the skepticism, Ari Paul? But he just seems to be anti-everything Ripple and XRP from everything I've read from him. And I'm glad that he's thinking through this, but I don't think that he's completing the thought process here. If he's so skeptical of Ripple or Coil finding success here, and then he says others will just do it. Who are those others? So others will just, it's just going to magically happen. No, Ari, who are those others? There's nobody else even attempting this. That's the amazing thing. Not like this. It's certainly not like this. Utilizing, because this is the thing. The reason that you couldn't find success with a model even resembling this in the past, and you couldn't find success in solving the fractured global cross-border payments world specifically, is because trust was required for all of these transactions to occur at all. And then you're talking about a lot of human intervention being necessary. But all this can be automated when you take the requirement for trust out of the equation, which is what you do. That's why decentralization actually matters fundamentally, and what Ripple and Coil are doing. And so I don't think that he quite gets that. So I'm not Mr. Skeptic here. I'm not saying that these plans will or won't work with absolute certainty, but I'm not going to second guess when it comes to the amount of XRP granted to Coil from Ripple. I'm not going to sit here and second guess it based on nothing, which is what some are doing. And I just personally am not going to participate in that fashion. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next piece here. I'm not going to read through much of this. I have already covered this story very recently. I've covered it very extensively in one video, where I think it's probably all I talked about in one video, and then I touched on it in one or two other videos. But just to catch people up real quick, in case you're unaware, here's the title from one piece, and I haven't read from this yet, but dailyhodl.com. Ripple says final guidance from UK regulator hands XRP long-awaited regulatory clarity. And you can see here the FCA, and this is over in the UK, in terms of conceptually what is XRP, they put it in the same category as Bitcoin and Ethereum, so not a security, okay? Next piece here, this is from dailyhodl.com also. This piece is titled, New Twist in XRP Lawsuit Forces Ripple to Respond in 1 Month. And so I really don't want to read through this because I've covered this pretty in depth lately. I don't know, I guess I can, just to make sure that I've got you cut up to speed properly. This is really short, so I guess I can. I just want to make sure that I've set the table properly, or else what I'm about to share with you, it's not going to have a proper effect. So anyway, it states, a group of investors just filed an amendment to their lawsuit against Ripple, which accuses the San Francisco startup of selling XRP as an unregistered security. The new filing is the first since Ripple successfully fought to have 4 cases against it consolidated in federal court, and forces the company to file a response by September 19th. The amended complaint references the SEC's recently released framework for determining whether a digital asset is a security. According to the modified 11-page complaint, XRP is a security because the token's purchasers made an investment of money in a common enterprise. The filing says XRP investors had a reasonable expectation of profits, and that the success of XRP requires efforts of Ripple and others. The complaint also claims that XRP qualifies as a security under both federal and California state law. In California, the suit alleges Ripple violated the state's false advertising and unfair competition laws by making misleading statements about the genesis of XRP, the circulating supply of XRP, and adoption of XRP. The lawsuit also alleges Ripple executives issued statements that appear to suggest XRP could be a security. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse mentioned during an interview with CNBC in 2017 that people are looking at the success Ripple has been having as a company, and I think that's increased the value of XRP. Okay, so there's the whole lawsuit going on, and if you really want my full thoughts on that, just look for my video. It was, I don't know, two or so days ago. Whatever, I don't remember the title, but if you find it, you'll know that that's what it's about. And so conceptually, the idea, I do not believe for a moment that XRP is a security. I don't think that there's a reasonable case to be made on this. And so there's a thought that I wanted to share with you from Galgatron, and I like the way that he framed it. And so I made sure to make note of it when I came across it this morning, and I want to share it with you. Now, this whole thread, I don't know that I need to read this whole thing. There's a Jake Chervinsky. I've actually talked about him very recently on the same topic, of course. Maybe I can just blow past this. I don't think it's necessary for me to go through all this. But anyway, this guy wrote, Jake Chervinsky wrote, I'm not really interested in technology that slightly increases the profit margins of corporate remittance processors. And this is on the topic, by the way. It's going to get into the topic of XRP and a security. Okay. So Galgatron responded, neither are we. But are you interested in technology that frees up hundreds of billions of dollars from no-show accounts around the world? Banks are. Are you interested in a counterparty risk-free currency best positioned to bridge the millions of imminent coin entrants? I am. It's irrelevant if Ripple's usage of XRP is deemed as a security. XRP, the asset itself, isn't. Only Ripple could be affected, and given that we're actively engaged with all regulatory bodies this entire time, it's profoundly unlikely there will be retroactive consequences. And that's that is one of the things I wanted to talk about. I'm more excited to share even his next point, though. But I talked about this in a very recent video also, conceptually. Okay, so if XRP is not, a security, can it be said that Ripple somehow is behaving in such a way, treating it as if it were a security? Legally, is there a case to be made there? With me not having a law background, I can't answer that, but it's a reasonable question to pose. And so that's what Galgatron is talking about here. Could it be set? Now, his belief here clearly is that it's very unlikely that there's going to be retroactive consequences of it as far as any of this. And so, so Julia here wrote, and I'm not going to reference it was like a retweet, I don't need to get into that, but I thought that, she writes, I thought until I read this thread. And then Galgatron wrote in response to that, nothing I wrote conflicts with her. In the context of the case, the plaintiff claims Ripple sold securities. But outside of the context of Ripple, XRP is certainly an asset. Now check out this. This next sentence is what I was really looking forward to share with you. Check out this. Ask yourself, if Satoshi gifted Ripple his Bitcoins and Ripple sold them, would they be securities? Isn't that an excellent way to get people thinking about this in a slightly different way? Because right now the whole claim is that Ripple is selling securities. Is that right? Ripple did not create XRP. Ripple was gifted XRP and then decided to sell it. So if you're gifted something, if you have what's the requirement? You're a business and you have a certain quantity, and then if you sell it now, it's a security. Like that doesn't seem reasonable. And so that's why he kind of flipped it in a different way. It's like, okay, what if Satoshi gifted Bitcoins instead to Ripple, and then Ripple sold that? Would they be securities? I say no. I don't think that makes sense in a rational world here. And so I thought I'd share that thought with you. Again, I don't want to rehash everything that I said in a recent video. It's too soon for that. But if you are curious on the rest of my thoughts on this topic, look back. You can find it. And if not, I'm sure that the topic, it's not going away anytime soon, so it'll come up again on the Moon Lambo channel. All right, last piece here. This is from ambcrypto.com. Coinbase custody adds Zappos. I'm guessing that's pronounced as a Z. Sometimes when the X is the first letter in these stupid words nowadays, it actually is an S. Like, I don't know what they want me to... Is it a Z? Is it an S? I don't know. But apparently you're a cool kid if you put an X at the front of whatever made-up word you want to use to name your business entity or product or whatever. Anyway, Coinbase custody at Zappos institutional businesses has exchanged plans to accelerate institutional investment in Bitcoin. Okay, and then it states... Over the past 2 weeks, Coinbase, the San Francisco-based crypto exchange, has been notoriously active in the virtual asset industry. From the listing of Algorand to the disabling of Zcash services for UK users, Coinbase continued to make news with new and interesting developments. Brian Armstrong's exchange is in the news again after it revealed that Coinbase Custody had completed the addition of Zappos institutional businesses to its network. The addition of Zappo promises to solidify an exceptional period of growth for Coinbase Custody. Coinbase Custody was launched only over a year ago. Since its launch, it has managed to register over $7 billion in assets under custody, belonging to over 120 clients based in 14 different countries. In a blog post released by the exchange, Coinbase said, "Through the acquisition of Zappo's institutional businesses, we're now proud to act not only as the gateway for millions of people to cryptocurrency, but also as the world's largest and most trusted steward of digital assets. Zappo has been a tremendous flag bearer for Bitcoin and the economic equality it can offer to billions across the globe." At press time, Coinbase was responsible for the highest Bitcoin trading volume according to Bitcoinity.com. According to data, Coinbase recorded a total volume of 557,000 Bitcoin over a period of 30 days. The exchange dominated the Bitcoin market with a share of 24.07%, with Kraken following suit with a trading volume of 360,000 Bitcoin and 15.02% of the market share. There's a quote from Coinbase now. From the start, our goal has been to build the trusted foundation for institutional investment in Bitcoin and crypto assets in general. We're thrilled to help enable some of the tremendous demand for this emerging asset class. I really enjoy reporting on stuff like this. I know this is not specifically an XRP piece, but to me, the building out of infrastructure matters. The adoption of cryptocurrency as the asset class matters. Custody solutions certainly matter. And all this will ultimately benefit XRP as you see the maturation of the entire asset class. And this is what's unfolding before our very eyes. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see something that it's going to be so transformative to the world. It's just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see something that will inevitably be so transformative and get like front row seats to watch things as they unfold. I just think it's incredible. And that's one of the reasons to me it's so exciting to be covering these topics as I do on this YouTube channel. I couldn't be more genuinely fascinated. And specifically, the reason that it's like, okay, well, why is your channel mostly about XRP? There's thousands of coins. And it's like, well, this one's getting used. You know, this is the one that's actually, it's the only coin being used in the commercial production of anything. And I think utility matters. So there we are, though. But I'll leave the video at that. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate the support. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!